Mass protests in the streets of Tel Aviv continue for a second day, with protesters angered by the deaths of 6 hostages. U.S. President Joe Biden has also responded that Netanyahu wasn't doing enough to reach a deal in Gaza. Ahn Sung-jin reports.
Protests in Israel headed into the second day with hundreds of thousands of protesters pouring into the streets. The country also saw suspension of services by general strikes over anger at the government's failure to secure a deal that sees the release of hostages. These are the largest protests in Israel since the attack by Hamas last October. As the overnight demonstrations continued throughout Monday, the country's largest labor union threatened to shut down the entire economy. This comes as public fury grows over the death of 6 hostages who had been seized by Hamas.
When we hear about the 6 bodies that they came back, I think everybody feel like they have to do something, and I think it's one of the reasons that so many people came out from home.
Demonstrators voiced that the hostages could have returned alive if Netanyahu's government had successfully agreed a deal with Hamas. Hamas said that Gaza captives will return in coffins if Israel continues its attacks in Gaza, after it released a video on Telegram of the 6 hostages when they were alive, which demanded for a ceasefire deal. The Hamas statement also said that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu would be fully responsible for the death of the captives. Netanyahu responded that they were close to the deal and that Hamas will pay a very heavy price for this. However, when asked on Monday whether Netanyahu was doing enough to reach a ceasefire, U.S. President Joe Biden responded no to the reporters at the White House. Biden added that he was close to presenting a final proposal for a deal to release hostages, but negotiations mediated by the United States, Qatar, and Egypt so far failed to reach an accord. Out of the 250 hostages that had been held captive by Hamas since last October, less than half have made it back home. At least 70 have died and the rest still remain unaccounted for, with uncertainty on whether they are still alive. Meanwhile, the UK announced a partial ban on weapon exports to Israel, suspending 30 out of 350 weapon exports licensed to Israel over a, quote, clear risk the exports could be used to breach international law. Ahn Sung-jin, Arirang News.